Hey, World Travelers Clubbers, this is Jim Tallman and
Chris Vermilion.
And we're here offering you an exciting opportunity called World Travelers Club Lite for spring break of 2020. Instead of having a parent meeting, since we are all returners to the club, we figured that we might save ourselves and you a little bit of time and offer this trip to you via this video. So go ahead and follow along with the slides with both Chris and myself, and hopefully in the next 10 minutes, we'll be able to answer any questions that you have about World Travelers Club Lite.
So what you may know is that we have already planned 6 trips, and this would be our 7th trip. And what makes this special is your children came to us and kind of pushed Mr. Tallman and I to consider a smaller trip just for veterans that wanted to go. And so since we've had a lot of student interest, Mr. Tallman and I decided we would look into offering another trip for your students.
So you've probably heard, at least your students have probably told you about our Super 6 trip, which is taking us in the summer of 2020 to Australia and New Zealand. Now that trip was actually sought after by the club, but unfortunately because it is to Australia and 2 hemispheres away, that trip has to be again during the summer. And since it's during the summer of 2020, this year's President Juniors will have already graduated. And since we had such a great trip with them either last year or the year before, a lot of them expressed a lot of sadness that they wanted to do another spring break trip with the World Travelers Club. So they convinced us, as Chris said a moment ago, to offer a spring break 2020 trip. Hence, World Travelers Club Lite. It's a spring break 2020 exotic excursion for previous club members only, with a much smaller group size, though, to make it kind of a much more restorative experience for our students.
So where are we going to go? By now you may have heard from your student that this is a trip to Italy, Monaco, France, and Spain. And what this trip is going to look like, the highlights, if you will. World Travelers Club Lite will take us to Cinque Terre. We'll go to Monaco, visit the French Riviera, and then end up in Barcelona. So what we're going to do is just take you through some of the highlights of each one of those to tell you a little bit more about what this trip might look like. So in this particular picture, you can see the beauty of Cinque Terre. This is 5 little villages, essentially, that we will be traveling with your kids to. We will have the option to potentially doing some hiking between the two, have a train pass between the two. So we would fly first to Milan and then travel by train or bus to Cinque Terre. And our first couple of days would be spent looking at the beauty of these 5 villages, 5 little towns in Italy. From there,
the next bucket list stop, of course, is going to be the opulence of Monaco and Monte Carlo. I'm reminded of my mother always told me about Grace Kelly and how fascinated she was by Grace Kelly. We're going to see the homeland of Grace Kelly as the queen or princess of Monaco. We see there the opulence, as we said before, of this nation, one of the smallest nations in the world, which is a hotbed of activity for people from all over the world. And we're really excited to be able to offer this opportunity to our students to see Monte Carlo and Monaco.
So a short drive along the coast will then take us to the French Riviera. Again, you can see the beauty of the cliffs, of the water, the beautiful blue beaches. And this will allow us to continue on eventually to the culture of Provence and to take the kids, even those who have traveled to Paris before, into quite a different culture perhaps than what they've been used to with France. From there,
many of your students came to know both Mr. Vermilion and myself because we are at heart history teachers and history nerds. Well, there's no better place in the world to experience history than Provence. For example, we can experience the Avignon Papacy, which was during the Great Schism of the 1400s, which is a fantastic event to learn about and talk about. Of course, we're not going to be able to miss the Roman aqueducts, which are over 2,000 years old. So not only will we be experiencing culture and language and foods and shopping and those, but we're also going to dive deeply into some fantastic Southern European provincial history.
From there, we continue on to one of the original goals of many of our travelers, which was to make it to Spain. The beauty of Barcelona, the history with La Sagrada Familia, the church, with Gaudi, and we're going to go visit the park. There's just so many exciting parts and pieces to Barcelona. The pedestrian right-of-way of the Rambles. Kids will really get to bask in the Spanish culture as part of that. Now, we'll spend about a day or two in Barcelona. From there, we will go to
Now, I don't know if Basque was a pun intended, but of course that's near Basque Country there in Spain.
Such a nerd social studies
There
joke.
I go again. Speaking again of history nerds, we're going to go to Montserrat. Montserrat is a monastery about an hour outside of Barcelona. Montserrat, as you can see, is a cliff dwelling of monks that's been there for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. We're going to take a bus, and there is a gondola up to the top, and you can see that young lady in the top left. You can see this reaches to the skies, these interesting rock edifices that our students will be able to experience, and really looking forward to. This is most certainly a place that a lot of people don't get to see. Those that go to Barcelona oftentimes spend a couple days in the city and don't really get out. This is in the countryside of Spain, a country near and dear to my heart. And I'm really glad that I can offer this, or we can offer this opportunity to students that probably for most would never get to walk the hallways of this ancient monastery in Spain.
So what we have, guys, is essentially 4 countries in about 10 days. And yes, we are history nerds, so we're going to talk to you about the history, go to churches, museums, that kind of thing. But honestly, some of you are in it for the culture like we are, in it for the shopping. Some of the greatest shopping in Europe along the way, some of the great markets of Europe, some great dining along the way. All of this is going to be a part of another fantastic trip, as Mr. Tallman and I have personally seen to micromanaging some of the destinations and the details, the food, the hotels, all of those kinds of things you've come to expect from World Travelers Club. So hopefully by now you're saying to yourself, man, I've really got to get my child on this trip. This looks awesome. Probably as an adult, you're being like, how can I get on this trip? You know that the success we've had on this trip has led us to actually never have a parent be able to come because there's never any spots open. So the next question, of course, in my home would be, what is the cost going to be on this?
Well, one thing that our club has really done a good job at doing over the last, well, this will be our 6th, 7th trip, is providing such an opportunity at costs that we think are pretty favorable for our students. We realize that every dollar counts. And so we're going to try to make this as affordable as possible for all families, especially for these families, you guys, because you've already traveled with us. So the dates are going to be March 26th to April 4th of 2020, spring break of next year. So for those that will be seniors next year, it gives them an opportunity, one last high school trip to experience with their friends. But alas, with both Mr. Vermilion and myself as chaperones, to keep tabs on them. The cost is $267 a month if you guys sign up right away, which is a pretty good price. We're selling this pretty far out to make those numbers very palatable to our World Travelers Club families. If you will, the total cost is $34.75, and just like every other trip that we've done, this covers all transportation, this covers all meals except for lunches. This covers hotels, accommodations. So really the only thing that is not covered in that fee are lunches or snacks if your children are so inclined, or for those that want to spend a couple dollars in the markets in Provence or Barcelona on Las Ramblas or something. And of course, there's a $50 club fee. You can look in the closet of your child. You can see the T-shirts or the sweatshirts that they have from previous
socials, that kind of
socials, those types of things. So that in the end that's the damage that this trip is going to cost. But both Mr. Vermilion and myself, having traveled quite extensively, we're pretty happy with the final numbers that we were able to come up with.
We did share with your students who were interested in Spain and Portugal initially that this trip provides 4 countries instead of 2, and it actually came in at a much cheaper price than the Spain-Portugal did, and that's part of the reason we made a decision if they had talked to you about switching to this trip. The one thing I would add, too, as a group of veterans that we're going to do a little bit different as well, we're not going to collect tips ahead of time with this trip either, so that would be one thing they would be prepared for. As veteran travelers, we will have taught them by now that we tip those who take care of us, and we will not be collecting money ahead of time. We'll expect them to budget their money accordingly and take care of our tour guides and that kind of thing. So the final piece is, how do I get on this trip? Okay. This is, again, only open to club members who are veterans. So please, this is not the one to talk to your girlfriend or to a family friend and send the link to them and just say, hey, this trip is an excellent opportunity. While we appreciate your vote of confidence, we are purposely keeping this a very small group of travelers. There will only be 4 chaperones on this trip, probably around 20 students at about a 5-to-1 ratio, no more than 20 we're thinking at this point. And we do expect to treat this trip a little bit differently. Your students have gone through several months of meetings with us already. and the trust we have in them as travelers, having many of them already traveled with us once or twice by the time we go on this. This really allows us to do and see some things we wouldn't do with a first-time group. And so just to make things clear, this is in lieu of a parent meeting. If you're still left with some questions about costs or details, please email both Mr. Tallman and myself. It's always best when you're talking with both sponsors about any questions you might have. And today is January 23rd. We're hoping to get this out to you today. If you're watching it tomorrow, it's January 24th. We are going to give you just about 1 week to decide for your family if this is something that you're interested in. Which, if you've been to our meetings before, you know that's actually a lot of time. Yeah. Most parent meetings, we send out a link an hour or two later, and there's the big, crazy rush to sign up. Well, we do think that there's probably going to be a crazy rush to sign up because I think as we counted it, there's probably 30 to 35 veterans that could go on this trip.
Yeah.
Only taking 20 as a smaller group. And I know that some of you may reach out to us later if it gets to the point where it's over 20 and just say, why not a bigger group? You've done this before. The reason for that, if we're being honest, is we already have an Australia-New Zealand trip that we're spending a lot of details on. This is a second trip in the same year. We've never done this before. We're confident in our ability to do it, but we wanted to take a smaller veteran group so that we could focus on giving those kids the best trip possible,
right.
Not having to train other sponsors and chaperones. Right. This would just be the 4 who started the club who've gone on all the trips together. So,
all veterans, both the chaperones and the students.
So if you're watching this now, you obviously understand Remind because that's how you got this link to watch it. 1 week from tonight, we are right now on the 23rd making this at 8 p.m. or approximately 8 p.m. a few minutes before or after on January 30th. We will send out the link to sign up. And if you recall, you have to put down the deposit, which is $95, I think.
Yeah.
And then from there, you want to set up your payment plan if you're not going to pay for the whole thing. We really encourage you not to put it on a manual payment plan. That's where we've had some problems in the past. But please do reach out to us if you have any questions. We're super excited about the sign up. We're excited about these veteran kids that have really pushed Mr. Tallman and I hard. Give us a senior trip. That's what we're doing for your children. We're excited about going on the trip as well, but we hope that you'll have some time to talk about it. If you have any questions, you'll reach out to us. We'll send the link out next week on Wednesday, and we'll follow that up with a permission slip, and we'll need the club fee as well, and that will be your final sign-up. If you get into the EF site before it starts a waiting list, and you have a check and a permission slip ready, then your child is signed up and ready to go for Spring Break 2020.
Fantastic. Again, we're really excited to offer this opportunity. And mostly we want to thank you for allowing this club to exist, because if it's not for the families of World Travelers Club is non-existent. And so I think this opportunity just kind of really brings home or cements what this club is all about. So again, thank you for listening. Again, if you have any questions, please ask them before next Wednesday and not after, because we don't want this opportunity to be missed because of any unanswered questions. We'll gladly answer them as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll look forward to the sign-up next Wednesday night. We'll look forward to any email questions you may have. And other than that, we will perhaps not see you again until March, when we're having you in for a last parent meeting. We will see your kids for a few meetings and socials between now and then. But thank you guys for watching, and we'll wait to hear back from you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.